stealing from Jimmy Lakey. Jimmy Lakey in the morning makes me feel alive. Woke me up this morning, now I'm up and on my way. Oh, 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 yeah, what a great way to start your day, the Lakey way.
Well, Heidi ho, neighbor. How are you, everybody? Good to have you here on the program. It's Lakey Unleashed. Unleashed in the morning, unleashed in the afternoon, whenever you're listening to the show. If you're watching this program live this morning, it's 4 minutes after 8 o'clock in the Mountain Time Zone, 4 minutes after 10 o'clock Eastern Time Zone. That way you know that it is live. If you're not watching it live, then hello, wherever you are at right now, and whatever time of day or time of the year it is. Glad to have you here. My name is Jimmy, also known south of the border and in parts of the immigrant community as Jaime Lagos. Pleasured. Thank you, and you are welcome. All right, breaking news we got to get to this morning. The government's on the brink of reopening. We'll talk about that. Laura Carno's going to be with us here in just a bit, our favorite on a Tuesday morning. Also, Mandy Gunasekara. Maybe you remember Mandy. We introduced you to her a couple of weeks ago. Mandy's going to be back on the show as well. So it's an all-female cast of characters except for myself and producer Chad. And we're the testosterone here, and we're bringing the estrogen to get some reasonable and sharp opinions out there. So please stand by for the program. It's Veterans Day in America. Today's a great day. Every day's a great day to thank a veteran. But I bid all of you a happy Veterans Day. To all of you in the audience, many of you identified yourself yesterday. Feel free to do it again if you've served your country. Let us know when you served. Let us know the branch you served in. Put it in the comments in all the chat rooms out there. If you're on the Rumble, if you're on any of the many Facebook feeds, the Twitter feeds, the X feeds, let us know. YouTube as well. Love to give honor to all of our veterans who have served the country. So we want to thank all of you. Producer Chad, the esteemed producer, you can thank him for his service in the country. He served in the Air Force. And he was even honorably discharged. There was that scandal. He wasn't in it. No, he was he served the country in the Air Force. And so wherever you served, let us know in the chat rooms. We'd love to recognize many of you. And happy Veterans Day to everybody. And thank a veteran on this glorious, glorious day the Lord has made. And it's a glorious Veterans Day. So happy Veterans Day. Of course, you Marines, you can celebrate Veterans Day as well. I know you got your 250th birthday yesterday and all the shenanigans that go with that. But happy day for all of you. Happy Veterans Day to everybody. All right, let's have some news here if we can. The government shutdown is still underway right now. Evidently, airports across America are still backed up and have canceled flights. 42 days of a showdown. And I have a kind of an overarching question that I would like to ask you. Is maybe some of you lurking in the chat rooms out there, some of you watching on some of the platforms out there. Maybe you're a Democrat. Maybe you're a leftist. I'd like to ask you, 42 days of a shutdown. It ain't over yet. Republicans are being summoned back to the nation's capital. A lot of folks think that vote is going to happen today. It's kind of a fly in, fly out. They'll fly in, make the vote, and go home. And assuming it passes, which I think most people are, the House is going to return to D.C. for a vote. And President Trump will sign this thing. And let me ask you a question. What is it that the Democrats have gained in this entire last 42 days? Can anybody name some victory that they've had? They didn't get the carve out or the re-edition of the Obamacare supplements. They didn't get any of that. So if anybody could tell me what it is that the Democrats might have gained by this, I'd love to hear from you and know exactly what it is that the Democrats gained. There's some speculation yesterday as to why did these, quote, moderates go over there, is a lot of them wanted to break away from Chuck Schumer early on, but Chuck had been begging them, please keep the government closed, please keep it closed. Chuck Schumer is a desperate man. A lot of folks thinking he's done for politically. This might have been his political his biggest political blunder, and he may not even run for re-election. He was worried about a primary challenge from AOC in a couple of years. He may not even seek re-election. That's how tainted this has made Chuck Schumer. He got in trouble for voting for the continuing resolution, and then he couldn't hold his group together for keeping the government closed. I mean, he's just a horrible leader and an individual that probably has been in Washington way too long. But I ask you, all of you out there, if any of you can give me some strategic point to what do you think that the Democrats gained by this whole thing? I heard that they wanted to break away from Chuck earlier, but he held them together. And then after they got past that election, they said, this is dumb. There was also, I think it's underreported, there was mounting pressure from a lot of labor unions saying, Democrats, you're holding this up. The continuing resolution, we were perfectly happy the way things were happening. We were getting a paycheck. You're just being asked to continue what has been happening for the last couple of years at the exact levels. Why are you jacking this up right now? If you remember, all of the major airlines and their CEOs put out statements calling on the Democrats to open the government. You have a lot of unions out there, not just for government workers, but airline workers as well, that were also pressuring the Democrats. And I think there was a lot of pressure behind the scenes. So if anybody can tell me what the Democrats gained by this, feel free to do so. I like how some of them said, we're going to vote to end the Republican shutdown. If you're able to vote to end the Republican shutdown, couldn't you have voted that way a long time ago? It makes no sense. I like this when you form yourself into the shape of a pretzel to try to explain something. I call it pretzelize yourself. When you pretzelize yourself to try to blame it on the Republicans that you're voting to open the government, it makes no sense at all. But if you can tell me, any of you Democrats lurking in any of the streams out there, feel free to let us know what you gained. Evidently, you gained a whole bunch of disunity. And it goes back to what I talked about in my political analysis of last week's election. These were not some symbols of election in Virginia and in New York that symbolizes what's happening around the rest of the country. These are blue states doing what the blue states do. These were blue cities doing what the blue cities do. It's nothing. I mean, yes, there's always lessons to be learned. There's always data to be gleaned, but this is not something that we need to make such a big deal, but because it was in the media circles and the media and the 24-hour news cycles always looking for something to report, they made those elections some kind of a pivotal turn for the entire country, that New York City elected a communist. I'll say that they could have elected Cuomo and it would not have been much better. The tyranny of communism is kind of what the tyranny that Cuomo had when he was the governor during the COVID. So I'm not sure, it's a lesser of two evils there. So anyway, I ask you a great question here, my friends. Is there anybody that can tell me what the Democrats gained here? If you're a Democrat, do you feel like you gained anything? And again, I think if you're going to fight the battle on Obamacare and these healthcare subsidies, you fight it in the actual legislation. You don't fight it in the continuing resolution. So your thoughts, all the platforms are open. Several Facebook feeds we're on this morning. The Twitter feeds out there that we're on the Rumble, we're on the YouTube, and almost all of those you can comment and they will pop right in here to the studio. Let's go through some of the Veterans Day accolades we want to give here. I mentioned that producer Chad is a veteran from the Air Force. Hope producer Chad is having a good day, and happy Veterans Day, producer Chad. He's having a great day because producer Chad is producing this show from the beaches and the shore side of Cabo, Los Cabos. He's in Mexico this morning and this week, and he's doing the show from literally a balcony that is on the beach. And yesterday I could barely hear him. Today he had to change microphones and headphones so I could hear him in our pre-show meeting, but he's fine. I don't know how many cervezas he's in, but he's probably in a couple of cervezas. Matter of fact, he might have had a drip during the nighttime in an IV form. I'm not sure. Air Force veteran there. Obnoxious Scott checking in on the Rumble feed. He's an Air Force veteran. Thank you for your service on this Veterans Day. What else do we have? We have Craig's an Air Force veteran, served as a pararescue, a PJ. Thank you very much, Craig. We appreciate it. We got 3 Air Force guys in a row. We got producer Chad, we've got Craig, and we've got Scott. Jeff making a comment. Dems have some great free sombrero memes for their future campaigning. That's what I'm going to miss about the shutdown is a sombrero meme. I'm going to miss Hakeem Jeffrey, the dollar store Obama, being floated around in a sombrero meme. That's going to break my heart that those are probably going to go away. But I'm thinking that maybe Chuck Schumer and Hakeem dollar store Obama Jeffries, maybe they're going to put on their sombreros and have a fiesta to celebrate the reopening of the government. That's a possibility. There could be a fiesta coming on behalf of Chuck Schumer and Hakeem dollar store Obama. dollar store Obama Jeffrey. So, all right, speaking of Obamacare, this is something that has also been underplayed here, is that what this shutdown shows, and they're talking about health care affordability, if your health care is unaffordable, it has nothing to do with Donald John Trump. If your health care is unaffordable and you find the healthcare system to be burdensome and or cumbersome and or just a pain in the patootie, you can thank Barry Hussein Obama and his signature legislation called Obamacare. There's a piece in justthenews.com that the headline says the Obamacare secret at the heart of the shutdown, insurers made billions at taxpayer expenses. You ready for this? This is what they say. We got to keep those subsidies going. Keep those subsidies going. These were subsidies that were passed during the COVID-19 pandemic, plandemic, whatever you want to call it. And Joe Biden expanded those. Subsidies were greatly expanded by Joe Biden during the COVID-19 pandemic. Some of that silly spending began under Trump, and Joe Biden expanded a lot of these subsidies as, quote, an emergency. But Democrats are wanting these emergencies to stay permanent. That's what this entire shutdown was about. And those subsidies went mostly to Democrat donors. This is, again, justthenews.com. The 42-day federal shutdown forced by Democrats thrust the economics of Obamacare into the limelight. It's kind of like during the COVID, you didn't know what was happening in your kid's classroom until they were sitting at the table with a laptop or an iPad, and you're listening to the drivel coming out of these indoctrination centers known as the public schools, and you were horrified and you woke up and said, wow, it's worse than I thought. These people are bat crap crazy. Remember that revelation you had when you realized what your kid had been subjected to every day in the confines of the public school campus? Well, the spotlight is now on Obamacare and all these subsidies that were out there. An insurance industry whose executives are increasingly liberal donors have seen their earnings soar with the injection of taxpayer-funded subsidies that were propping up Barack Obama's signature health program from collapse. The nation's largest health insurance companies have seen good business since Obamacare was first passed in 2010, and it was fully implemented in 2014. This has come in no small part because federal government subsidies to the insurance industry, which government estimates total $1.8 trillion in 2023 alone. Did you know that Obama's program doesn't work? It only works if you're subsidizing the insurance companies that are doing the policies for Obamacare. These subsidies were greatly expanded by Joe Biden and his administration, but Democrats have fought to keep them permanent. That's what this shutdown was about. It was really about Chuck Schumer and the Democrats wanting to make sure that their donor class, that are the insurance executives for the big insurance companies, that they continue to get their subsidies and keep their health insurance companies afloat. Just the News analysis, and I'll go to my first guest here in the morning, public financial records from four of the nation's largest health insurance companies found that net earnings ballooned about 216% from 2010 to 2024. So just when you thought that Obamacare was looking out for you, and Barry Hussein Obama had put this health care plan and it was supposed to make the health care better for you, I think most of us would say it's still broken. It's very expensive. You're not sure if you are better off than you were before, but Barry Hussein penned that signature piece of legislation. But the health insurance companies, they've benefited in just 14 years. They have blossomed about 216% in their health insurance net earnings. That's net earnings. And the United Health Group in particular dominates the healthcare industry, and they have a market share of about 15%, and they have seen the largest explosion of profits. The three other big companies that have benefited by these subsidies, Elevance, Centene, and Cigna, and they also experienced a market growth in net earnings after the implementation of Obamacare. So Obamacare was not really about you. These subsidies you're fighting for are not about you. A lot of these subsidies are prop-ups and profit centers for the insurance companies, and they've been living off of it since Obamacare began, and Biden greatly increased that, and the Republicans say we're not going to continue those subsidies, at least during a shutdown. We can talk about it later. So there is a problem with Obamacare that's now in the limelight, that Obamacare has not worked. It does not work. It's not good for you. It's not good for me. It's not good for the country. And it has now come into the light because of Chuck Schumer's shutdown. All right, question of the day for you real quick, and then I want to go to my guest. I have a the housekeeper that takes care of the house for me. I first of all, anytime I have a housekeeper, when I even changed, I said, listen, if you ever bring Fabulosa in my house, that stinky, nasty crap that some people, I don't know, this is how you got to shut the southern border. They should never be allowed to import that crap called Fabulosa into America. It's awful. It's not American. It's pitiful, my opinion. And so I had a housekeeper I fired because she would use the Fabulosa one time, and I warned her, and then she used it again. And I said, okay, you're Tough Tacos Tootsie. I cannot have my house smelling like Fabulosa. It's awful, pitiful, nasty. So I have a housekeeper that comes, and when she comes, I make sure it's clear that we don't use Fabulosa. And I have some more natural products that I like to use. Method is a good brand, and there's some good brands of natural products. Now, I don't want to get too personal with you in the inner sanctum of the household of Brother Lakey here, but I noticed after switching to the all natural stuff for the last few months, I was I noticed a part of my shower in the master bedroom. I still call it the master bedroom because I'm the master. I said, I don't like that. That doesn't look, I think, because usually you go buy the bottle at the store, the Clorox stuff that has the bleach and the foam in it, and you just squirt that everywhere. Now it's aromatic. You got to air out the house. It's very toxic if you breathe too much of that. But I looked at part of the shower, and I looked kind of at a corner. I said, that could be cleaner, even with the lady using all the natural stuff. And so I went out and bought a bottle of the good old-fashioned chemical stuff that it works, but it's not necessarily the best to breathe and best to touch. But I had to get it to make sure that things were tip-top shape like I wanted to. And it brought me to the question that what is your favorite cleaning supply that you use, or your least favorite? Anybody else feel the same way about the Fabulosa that I do? Sometimes there's nothing better than some good old bleach spray from the cleaning out of the grocery store, Clorox or Lysol that makes that stuff. Sometimes you got to use it. You can be all natural. Jeff says spick and span is nice. So I don't know spick and span. Growing up, the cleaning supplies of choice were a Pine Sol, the original Pine Sol smell, and Comet. That's how you cleaned everything. Pine Sol and Comet. We probably didn't have anything else in the house for cleaning supplies except Pine Sol and Comet. So anyway, give me your favorite or least favorite cleaning supply product. And I like the all-natural stuff. I think it's fantastic. That's what we use primarily at the House of Lakey. But I just happened to notice that there's some places I'm like, that all-natural stuff ain't killing some things. And so I had to go buy the foaming spray stuff. And yeah, and I got to let the housekeeper know. I think I got to let the housekeeper know that we're going to have to kind of mix that into the natural regimen. So we're going to have to cancel out the natural stuff. All right, ladies and gentlemen, she's listening to me ramble, and she's very patient and probably saying, shut your pie hole and get me on the stage. Mandy Gunasakara's on the program, and we welcome her. Oh, I got to hit the right button, don't I? They've changed up my formatting here. Mandy, how are you? Welcome into the program.
I'm doing great. It's really good to be with you. And I've enjoyed listening to you. It's been very entertaining.
Do you have a cleaning product at your house that you like, or one that you don't allow in? Again, Fabulosa is not allowed at my house. I will kick you out past the moat, maybe into the alligators if I need to. Don't bring Fabulosa in my house.
I love Mrs. Meyer's products. They smell really good, and they do a pretty good job cleaning. But I will say, when it comes to cleaning those corners in the showers, I just go for good old-fashioned bleach.
Yeah, that's what I had to do. I was doing Mrs. Myers is a great one. The Method stuff is also great, but every once in a while you got to get those corners in the shower a little bit better. And I went and broke the rule, and we had to bring bleach into the household. So it's going to be all right. All right, let me introduce, if you don't know, Mandy Gunasakara. She's written a book called Y'all Fired: A Southern Belle's Guide to Restoring Federalism and Draining the Swamp. A little bit more about Mandy is that she's been the center of U.S. energy and environmental policy for the last decade. From the Senate cloakroom to the Oval Office, maybe you didn't know, but she served as President Trump's chief of staff at the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency, the EPA. And currently she's a visiting fellow at the Heritage Foundation and lives with her husband and children in Oxford, Mississippi, where they do allow bleach cleaning products. That's good to know. Mandy, let's dive into this thing. First of all, the government's about to reopen. So we're going to have some people going back to work. This SNAP question, or this food stamp question, is going to go kind of fade away as it's going to be refunded. But a judge had said that Donald Trump must pay the SNAP benefits anyway. Give me your take on the focus on welfare / food stamps. The judge telling us we have to spend some money. That do we have that money? Give me some insight here on SNAP.
Yeah, well, look, that judge stepped out beyond the reach of what the judiciary should be doing. The judge took it upon themselves, as we have seen in many other cases, to take on the role of the executive branch as well as Congress to say, Congress, you should be open and fund this, and executive branch, you have to execute on these various programs. So they're absolutely in the wrong. It just complicates the fact that we're going to have the government back open, and these various services, and we can get into that broader discussion in a second, but these various services will be refunded. It's just going to complicate that for various SNAP beneficiaries, and the confusion that it has caused. Again, judges are important, but they got to stay in their lane. It's embedded in how our founders set up the whole checks and balances and the three equal but separate branches of government. So that's the problem there. I think on a broad, big picture, there's too many people on SNAP. And I think that the 41 million Americans being on SNAP, it just goes to show you that increasingly communities looking to the government to solve all their problems, that mentality has grown too far and too fast, and we need to get these under wraps if we are ever going to get our budget in order. We've got to have serious conversations about some of these services that have been expanded out to families that frankly probably do not need them, or there's alternative ways to make sure we are not prolonging this position of almost poverty. They've disincentivized upward mobility in some of these instances. I'm from Mississippi. I grew up in a very small rural town, and I remember in 10th grade government class, one of my friends in the class, it was her family's mentality that she just had to have more babies to make sure she could qualify for more money from the government as far as solidifying her future financial stability. And it was just said common. It wasn't anything out of the ordinary. So there's a structural problem, there's a cultural problem, but we need to take a very serious look at some of these services to the American people if we're ever going to get our budget in order. And also, it won't be so extreme if the government ends up in the situation where it's not operating again. You're going to have so many people having to suddenly do without something that they've become so reliant upon.
The voice of Mandy Gunasekar, if you're listening later, where thousands of earballs will hear this show on our podcast version, the audio only. It's going to be on Apple Podcasts, iHeart, Spotify, all the usual suspects coming up here in a minute. So that's the voice of Mandy Gunasekar. And again, I'll tell you, her book is called, latest book's called Y'all Fired, Southern Bell's Guide to Restoring Federalism and Draining the Swamp. We'll talk about the book here in just a moment, but Mandy Gunasekar is my guest. Of these SNAP supplements that were going out, I believe, to the states, I have a real problem that they take my money from my paycheck and they send it up to Washington. Washington disperses it to states. And my understanding is there's really no real check and balance, if you will, as to where those SNAP benefits are being paid out at. We're not really even sure that everybody getting those SNAP benefits in those 41 million people were qualified and or American citizens. Are we?
No, we're not. And so you've got the problem of illegal immigrants that are receiving some of these services paid for by taxpayers and set aside for taxpayers. You also have the problem of are these benefits there are those that just pretend to qualify, and then they take that. It's massive waste and fraud that is rampant in any government program, but especially so when you're looking at numbers like 41 million Americans. I should air quote, they're probably not all Americans that are receiving these benefits. And the third thing is SNAP is supposed to supplement access to healthy food. My husband actually showed me the stat the other day. The average weight of a female American is around 140 pounds. The average weight of a female on SNAP benefits is around 215 pounds.
Good Lord.
So what are we subsidizing? We're subsidizing access to highly processed junk food that is leading to all sorts of obesity and then additional health care problems. I just think the program as a whole, it needs to be reanalyzed. We've got to rein in waste, fraud, and abuse for sure, but we've got to reanalyze what are these taxpayer dollars actually supplementing.
Yeah, your book is called "Y'all Fired." You need to write one called "Y'all Go on a Diet." That's what you need. If that's the big difference there, that you and I could co-write that one. I think you'd do very well. The voice of Mandy Gunasekara, she's written a book called "Y'all Fired: A Southern Belle's Guide to Restoring Federalism and Draining the Swamp." Let's move away just from the SNAP benefits. The Senate finally voted to reopen the government. House is flying back into D.C. to probably vote for it. They're going to get a vote on these healthcare Obamacare subsidies, but it's not going to be till December. Really, is there any victory lap that the Democrats or Chuck Schumer can claim in this whole thing? What did they gain? What was the purpose of the last 42 days, and how did they move the ball down the field to our advantage?
Well, for our advantage, I think the Democrats are realizing maybe they don't actually want to talk about health care. Bringing back up Obamacare and the big lie, it was the big lie of that year, as determined by PolitiFact, when former President Obama, said that if you like your doctor, you can keep him or her. That proved to be the biggest lie of the year, and the fact that Obama himself promised that premiums would be reduced around $2,500 per year, and we've seen them actually skyrocket. So I think Democrats have realized maybe we don't want to talk about health care. I think that they're going to have this vote. I don't think they're going to get past the 60 vote threshold in the Senate to actually vote on the substance of health care, because I don't think the Democrats themselves have the votes to support it. And the Republicans obviously have problems with the continuation of these subsidies under the context of the failed Obamacare infrastructure. So I think that's clarity for them. What this was really about, it was trying to create momentum in their political base. This was a political trick. There were the races in Virginia. There were some in California and then New Jersey. I think what the Democrats really wanted to do was to generate momentum for their progressive left-wing base, and ultimately they did that. And now that the election is over, they quickly moved on and realized that some of these policy arguments they were making as a cover to their true political motives, that's not going to work in their favor in the long term, because the more we talk about healthcare, the more Americans realize, and it comes front and center, how much of a failure the system is in terms of cost, in terms of access to care, and stability with a doctor who you actually know and is looking out for your interests versus just being a part of some no-name unaccountable system.
You've written a book called Southern Belle's Guide to Restoring Federalism. The first part of that is "Y'all Fired" and "Draining the Swamp." Let's go back to these judges. First of all, let's go to the system of checks and balances, three separate but co-equal branches of government. Here we have Chuck Schumer and the Democrats really doing the unthinkable, weaponizing a government shutdown on a policy that if they want to put that in the budget battle, they can do that. But this was just a continuing resolution. So it seems like in the system of checks and balances, our legislative branch has kind of forgotten the boundaries they should stay in. And then you have judicial branches, judges coming out, like we were talking about, saying you've got to spend money on this, spend money on this. Nobody gave the judicial branch of government any of the purse strings. So if we're going to restore federalism and drain the swamp, it goes back to the title of your book. What is our first step here? Because it seems as if both branches of government, legislation under Chuck Schumer and Hakeem Jeffries, and these radical judges, it seems like they have forgotten the basis of our federalist system.
Yeah, they certainly have. And unfortunately, the problems that we're experiencing today, they date back to decisions made long ago, particularly when it comes to budgeting and to the caliber of senators that actually represent states in DC. It goes back to the passage of the 16th and 17th Amendment. The 16th was the establishment of income tax, where all of a sudden you had resources that were supposed to be set aside for the states going to Washington, DC, and creating this this federal leviathan. And then you have the passage of the 17th Amendment, where senators used to be elected by state legislators. The purpose was that they were supposed to vociferously fight for states' rights and be constitutional hawks. That went away, and they too became subject to the political whims of the country and the way the House was. And so that has eroded the caliber of senators that actually go up, represent their states, and the caliber of senators that actually, one, understand the Constitution and these careful checks and balances, and then are willing to defend it versus just being a part of the political games that we have seen become commonplace. Now, what do we do to fix it? One of the things on the judges' side, we have a major victory. It will take time to play out, but the fact that we have an originalist Supreme Court, once again, they will continue to check some of the most extreme actions in the lower courts. And I also think that it's up to people to hold these judges to account. When they do step over the line, be willing to impeach them. That is a check from the people on these judges, and it hasn't truly been embraced for some of these really egregious actions. And what Republicans and Democrats both should understand is that when you have judges acting out of alignment like that, or eroding the checks and balances, that undermines the integrity of the Constitution writ large. And so there really is a lot at stake. The other piece of this is, what I think President Trump has inspired, which is courageous legislators that are willing to go to Washington, D.C. to do their job, but to not step out beyond that. You have a lot of America First representatives that stand on principle, but they understand the Constitution, and they want to hold their fellow colleagues in the House in particular to account. And so I think President Trump has inspired a lot of that. And then the last piece of it is the executive branch. For once, we have a president on the regulatory side that is trying to reduce the size, scope, and reach of his relative administrative power. That's where the most change needs to occur, and the most change has been set in motion by the work of the Department of Government Efficiency on day one, exposing the extent of waste, fraud, and abuse, and then sending clear directions down to the various cabinet leaders, the secretaries and administrators, to cut red tape, to cut superfluous offices, to reduce the expenditures of those various agencies, and to rein in the role of the executive branch and the administrative state.
The voice, if you're listening on the podcast, if you're watching it, you see it on the screen, Mandy Gunasekara, author of a book called Y'all Fired, A Southern Belle's Guide to Restoring Federalism and Draining the Swamp. Mandy was the chief of staff to the EPA in the first Trump term, and she currently is a visiting fellow of the Heritage Foundation, lives with her husband and children in Oxford, Mississippi. Hello, Oxford, Mississippi. Mandy, very quickly, you've written a book, and it's not just an observation, it's a lived experience about the swamp and the lack of federalism and the separate, just the creatures that live in this swamp that are corrupting our federalist system. One of those, I know you tell the story in the book, was some State Department official tried to sabotage you, I guess, by putting you in let's call it a seedy hotel on a business trip.
Yeah, that's exactly right. So I was a key part of the president's decision to get out of the Paris Climate Accord, which is a terrible deal that sold American jobs, sold out the American economy for the benefit of countries like China and India. Only people who aren't used to making good deals would sign up for that, like Obama and Biden. Trump decided to get out. I was a key part of that, and I was a part of a small delegation charged with coming up with a better deal later that year. When you travel as a federal employee, the State Department handles your logistics. I had done this before. I didn't think twice about it until I showed up to actually do that job, and I looked around and I realized I was at a seedy sex hotel, and it was a very clear message from the State Department that they not only were trying to stop President Trump's policies from being successful, but they were trying to demean, demoralize, and discredit we, the political appointees that were trying to get that work over the finish line and done. And so it goes to show you how far the deep state will go to stop those that they politically disagree with. And the worst part of all of that is no one was held to account for extremely unprofessional behavior that frankly crossed the line into bullying and harassment. So the good news is President Trump has learned from the first administration, and he's trying to restore accountability within the bureaucratic ranks and within the deep state, that if they do step out of line and take unprofessional actions, they will be fired and they can lose their job. And he has given those tools to political appointees to hold them to account.
The name of the book, again, is Y'all Fired, and you need to pick up a copy of it. And just look that up, Mandy Gunasekara, Y'all Fired, a Southern Belle's Guide to Restoring Federalism and Draining the Swamp. Y'all Fired is the easiest way to find that. Mandy, I also believe you're on the Twitter. I think we have your handle right there, Mississippi Mandy. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's right. And I'm also on X, Mandy.Gunasekara. Or on Truth, sorry, Mandy.Gunasekara.
I was thinking, you're talking about that seedy hotel they booked you in. It goes full circle. That's where you need to travel. That spray bleach stuff is what you got to do there.
That's right.
Yeah. Mrs. Meyer's not going to work there. That's got to be the straight bleach.
That's right. You need the strong stuff.
Yeah. Mandy Gunasekar, I appreciate you coming on here. Thank you very much. Two more guests coming up. I got Laura Carno coming up here in just a moment, followed by Jared Knott. And that's all coming up here on the program. Don't go anywhere. Let me remind you of one of our great sponsors, though, Sherry Cree, homeswithsherry.com. Homeswithsherry.com. You know, there's a window of opportunity to sell your home that may be better than another window of opportunity. You say, what do you mean? What do you mean by that? Well, I'm saying that if you're a buyer, you need to know exactly kind of when it's the buyer's market and when the best time to take advantage of that, when it's a seller's market. Coming up early next year, there's going to be a lot of buyers out there that are going to start getting in the market. A lot of sellers are not going to be getting into later. So you need to understand the market. You need to understand the seasonality. There's people right now looking for a house right now. There's people that are selling their homes right now, and it's a whole different market. So you need to have somebody that understands the full picture, not just of the market where you're at, neighborhood by neighborhood, school district by school district, but you also need somebody that's going to understand the greater picture here is that you, my friends, can create generational wealth if you use real estate correctly and make the right decision. Whether you're buying or selling, I want to recommend you go to the website homeswithsherry.com. Our good friend Sherry Cree, homeswithsherry.com. Have a conversation, have a strategy session with her. Maybe you say, well, it's holiday season, I'll deal with it next year. Fine, you can sell next year, but you need to start taking action now to get the strategy, again, to get top dollar or to get the best deal. And if you're buying, have Sherry start kind of keeping an eye out, looking at the neighborhoods, kind of what may be coming on the market, pre-listings, etc. You need her on your team. You want her on your team. As a matter of fact, I require it. You just got to give her a call and make that phone call. Homeswithsherry.com. Even if you're thinking it's March, April, May, June, before you're ready to do real estate, to have the conversation now so that you can get prepared down the road, and if you and make the right decision for you. Homeswithsherry.com. Anywhere that I-25 corridor from Denver to Fort Collins, Boulder to Broomfield, Thornton, Park Meadows, Littleton, Lakewood, Arvada. Don't forget Arvada. Don't forget Longmont. We try to forget Longmont, but don't forget Longmont. Wherever you're at in the I-25 corridor of Colorado, homeswithsherry.com. 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 By the way, it's Veterans Day. She takes a dip in her commissions for veterans and those are active duty military. She makes a sacrifice, and she will rearrange her commissions just automatically for you so that that more money stays in your pocket. Homeswithsherry.com. All right, ladies and gentlemen, Veterans Day in America, and she's a veteran of being on the show. She's been on with me for many, many years. Her name is Laura Carno, and she's still homeless. She's living in a garage. Look at there, Laura Carno. Good morning.
Good morning. I'm a veteran of the Jimmy Lakey show, but nobody ever thanks me for my service.
Well, you should be thanked or checked into a mental hospital for doing this for so many years. Aren't you glad I used that segue instead of the Mandy Gunasekara segue about a seedy hotel and cleaning it with bleach?
I was waiting for that. Mandy's a great guest.
Yeah. Roger says up in the chat room there, he says, I'm out of breath listening to Mandy.
Yeah, she knows some stuff.
Yeah. A lot of people get out of breath listening to me, but that's just when they look at me and they go, wow, that's good. They get out of breath.
And is that when what do you say? You fall in your walk with the Lord?
Yeah. Some people stumble in their walk with the Lord. Yeah, they stumble in their walk with the Lord sometimes. Just because,
Yeah.
I mean, look at this. I mean, this is a stumble waiting to happen right here.
Yeah, naturally. Yeah. Take a look.
Yeah, Chad's a happily married heterosexual, but I had to send him to Mexico. He was getting too close. I had to send him away.
Oh, that's awesome.
That's horrible. I can't believe I said that myself, Delilah. All right. Laura Carno, the government's going to reopen. Are you excited?
No, not necessarily. I'm excited that the stock market will have a little reopen bump, probably. Here's what I do love about this whole, shutdown and reopen is the Republicans, and specifically, I think Mike Johnston has done a great job, and John Thune have done a great job saying, "Hey, here's the thing that we're going to sign on to. It's the thing that the Democrats have voted for 13 times in a row. That's the thing we want, and everything else the Democrats came at them with, they said, no, we're not doing that." And so at the end of the 40 whatever days it's turned into, Chuck Schumer lost big time. As you were talking about earlier, I think his career is going the way of Nancy Pelosi's career, which, that makes me happy. Um, but Mike Johnston held firm. John Thune held firm, and there were some Democrats in states that are not super blue who said, "Look, we can't risk our reelection. We've got to vote yes for this." So
Yeah. Even Tim Kaine from Virginia jumped in there. He's got a lot of government workers there, and the government employee unions were all screaming, going, "Get us back to work!" So everybody saw through the charade. Even Tim Kaine saw through the charade. Supposedly behind the scenes, Chuck Schumer had talked to him. "Hey, let's get past this election, this off-year election. That'll help us out." But they finally said enough is enough. I'm not going to call any of them brave Americans that really crossed Chuck Schumer. They were silenced by Chucky long enough, and they didn't stand up early enough. But hey, at least they did what they did now. But I don't see there's any takeaway for Democrats here. I don't see that they could take a victory lap at all over this. They really got nothing. Am I missing something?
No, you're exactly right. So the what was going to be voted on in the beginning was the exact same thing that's going to be voted on tomorrow. And I did read that the vote in the House will be tomorrow. So how do we call it the Republican shutdown when the Republicans had this thing out there? And by the way, Republicans are in the majority. Elections have consequences, and when you're in the majority, you get some more choices. So if it's the same thing that Republicans said, "Hey, here's the thing we'd like you to sign," and the Democrats said no for all of these days, and then now they finally said yes, that is a Schumer shutdown, 100%.
Yeah. Now, old buddy James Carville, I don't know if he was sober when he made some comments on X. You sent them to me. But he's making a case that when Dems get control of the government, if they win in 2028, I don't know if these are threats or promises, but give me your thoughts on the Carville statement. And again, if he posted on X or you see a video out there, we're never sure if old James is Carville sober or just being Cajun, but give me your thoughts on Carville's statement.
Yeah. Drunken Cajuns sometimes look the same. With James Carville. And for folks who want to take a look at this, I shared it on X this morning. But yeah, James Carville, he's kind of the id of part, at least, of the Democrat Party, came to his biggest prominence during the Clinton era. And he said, "Here's what we're going to do. Here's the playbook. We're going to elect a Democrat president in 28. We're going to win the House, we're going to win the Senate, and we're going for 13 seats on the Supreme Court because we have to balance this back out." So number one, he isn't hiding the ball. He's putting that open book out there. But the other thing is he's admitting that under the system of government that we have had for many hundreds of years, couple hundred years, that they can't win. And it's not because there's anything wrong with the system. It's because their ideas are terrible for people. Our ideas are much better for people. So I would take a look at that and say, Republicans, while sometimes some Republicans want to fire on other Republicans, figuratively speaking, of course, and say these Republicans aren't pure enough or these Republicans aren't this or that enough. The enemy is out there. They want to expand the Supreme Court to 13. They want to add states, to add more Democrat senators. They want to do a whole bunch of stuff that would ruin politics forever, would ruin any chance of freedom or liberty forever. I'm not saying we have freedom or liberty today, but any chance of ever getting there would be gone forever. So pay attention, heed his warning. And I think the person who I saw posted on Twitter said, when they tell you who they are, believe them.
Yeah. Again, the voice of Laura Carno. We'll talk about her organization in just a second. Faster. I got it wrong. Give me the website. Now I'm drawing a blank here. Faster Colorado. Thank you.
FasterColorado.org. Yes.
Yeah, I got three things happening in my head at one time, and my mind only has capacity for two things. All right, I'm 2 minutes past due to get to Jared Knott, but let me bring up another quick topic with you. You sent me a press release that comes out from Health and Human Services. That'd be one of the departments kind of overseen by Bobby Kennedy Jr., Robert F. Kennedy Jr., yesterday, we had a long discussion about some things that he's doing on vaccines and just clarity of labeling and just clarity of content in those and doing some new research. Also now press release talking about women's health care and removing some of the misleading warnings. I'll let you talk about it.
Yeah. So ladies of a certain age know exactly what I'm talking about. I am a lady of a certain age, but there are medications that help women in their menopause years to have full productive lives and not have all of these side effects of going through menopause. And for decades, there have been warning labels on certain of those medications. Some doctors are saying warning labels aren't right. These things don't cause breast cancer. They're actually protective of from getting breast cancer. And so now Bobby Kennedy's coming out and HHS and saying, "Hey, these were some old studies. The newer studies are really showing protective benefits." But what this all comes down to, Jimmy, and you and I talked about this during COVID the whole time. Do not talk to the government about your health care. Do not let the government talk to you about your health care. You have a relationship with a doctor who knows you, who knows your blood work, who knows your medical history. That is the person that you should be talking to about your medical care and any medication you want to take. But in this case, and I, by the way, not a doctor, I 100% agree that there are some benefits as a user of some of these medications. There are really good benefits that help with good quality of life as women age. And I've heard some women on social media or read some women on social media saying, well, menopause is completely natural and you just need to tough it out and go through it. And somebody answered, the flu is also natural, but we treat the flu. So, and I agree with that sentiment. So good things, I think, coming out of the Trump administration on the HHS side.
All right, I asked the question of the day. Do you have a favorite cleaning product or non-cleaning products at your house? Fabulosa is forbode and forbidden at my home. If you show up with it, I will feed you to the alligators and not let you escape the mode. Do you have something you like, you don't like?
Yeah. Yeah. For cleaning like pot marks, not marijuana, but the bottom of a pot that, makes a mark on your sink. I like Barkeeper's Friend. It does not scratch and it gets rid of those marks. But Truly Free Home is my favorite brand for non-toxic stuff. Truly Free Home. The owner has this great story about why he got into the business because of chemicals in detergents that were making his kids break out and all kinds of stuff. So yeah, good stuff.
Yeah, see, but that's what I was explaining earlier in this program. I have the little housekeeper that does all the natural stuff per my request, and no Fabulosa, because that's not natural at all. That just shows we've had open borders too long. That's awful stuff. I'm telling you, it's horrible. It's nasty. If you use Fabulosa, I don't think you're a true American. You're a commie. You're like, oh, anyway. I say this, but I noticed in part of the shower, I was like, it's not as clean as I wanted to be. Yeah. So I got the good old fashioned spray foamer with bleach in it, and it made it much better. So does the Truly Free Home, do you have to sometimes sneak in a little chemical with it?
I haven't been using it long enough to know, but we have used other more natural brands as well. And occasionally you just gotta, zap it with some bleach.
You gotta zap it with some bleach. That's what I figured that out. All right, Laura Carno, fastercolorado.org, fastercolorado.org. Real quick, give the plug away, ma'am.
Yeah, you know what? We just finished over the weekend our final class of the year, and it was our 50th Faster class. What we do is we train armed school security teams. This coming year in 26, we're also adding training law enforcement, first responders to respond to school shootings in rural areas. So we are really expanding. If folks want to go over to fastercolorado.org, check it out. Definitely click on the Our Team tab under About Us and just check out the experience of our guys. They are amazing instructors, and connect with us and we'll keep you up to date on what we're doing.
Fastercolorado.org, fastercolorado.org. We'll talk more about giving season in Colorado. We'll have you pitch a few bucks to Laura as well. But Laura Carno, thank you very much for your time. I'm 7 minutes over my allotted time with Laura, and now I bring in Jared Knott. By the way, Roger on the cleaning supply says Barkeeper's Friend is the best. I use it in all my copper pots and pans to shine and take the patina off. Patina. That's a word you don't use often enough. Wasn't that your dancing name, Delilah? Never mind. All right. Good to have you here. Jared Knott joins us onto the stage. Jared, I'm 7 minutes past due. Thanks for your patience, sir. I know you jumped in early, but you're the author of Tiny Blunders, Big Disasters, Book 2, an Amazon #1 international bestseller. And we'll talk about all of your books here in just a second. But Jared, welcome back to the show, sir.
Thank you very much. It's an honor to be here. Yes, sir.
Let's dive into the topic. We have, first of all, it's been a couple of days now, but evidently we have a major trade deal with China to buy millions of tons of good. And I want to get your take on that. And the tariffs, the non-tariffs, are we going to get along with China? Can we trust China? Give me your thoughts, sir.
Yes, well, of course, we start with a starting point, beginning point is you can't trust China for anything. Xi Jinping has his hands dipped red with blood. He's killed thousands and thousands of innocent people, the Weimers and so on and so forth like that. So his word is no good. He's broken over and over again. But of course, they know that on the negotiating team, and they observe it. Certain penalties built in, a certain action to be taken if he doesn't live up to what he's promised to do. Cutting back on the fentanyl coming into the United States, buying the soybeans that he claims he's going to buy, et cetera, et cetera. On paper, it looks like it's a very good deal, and it seems like we're making progress in the right direction. Of course, it's amazing. We're talking about Donald Trump having ended 8 wars. What? 8 wars. And if he is able to end the war in Ukraine, it'd be 9 wars. That's a pretty good record, ending 9 wars. And if that happens, by acclamation, all the people of the world will stand up and say he must receive the Nobel Peace Prize next year, hopefully just before the midterm elections in November. But I think it's progress. Is it complete? Is it tied up? No, and you constantly have to approach it with the perspective that they're going to cheat if they can. They can't be trusted, and that you have to have built-in safeguards to observe and to respond to the violations as they take place.
You're a historian and an author. Tiny Blunders, Big Disasters, Book 2 is the latest. It's called The Many Tiny Mistakes That Changed the World Forever. When you watch somebody like Trump take office, obviously you're kind of used to looking back in history at tiny things that became big things. What are those things that you look at with Trump going, I bet people didn't know that's what they were going to get? I mean, the tiny little things that really have changed the world forever, these peace deals, that could be one of them.
Yeah, so if you go back to the Nixon administration, where they first opened up, they used to call it then Red China, to trade in the world, that was a major turning point. Now, I'm not sure how beneficial it was to the United States. It might have been in our best interest if China just stayed in the dark ages and remained isolated, because when it came out and began engaging in trade, it became stronger economically. And then, of course, you had Xi Jinping take over, who is really an extension of Mao or an extension of Stalin. You could actually say that Putin is just like a small Stalin or extension of Stalin. You can say Xi Jinping is just an extension of Mao, both very evil people. I guess Stalin, I think, holds the record. No, Mao holds the record for the most number of people murdered by the administration. And then I think Stalin is second, and then Hitler comes in a poor third. So the evil on top of evil on top of evil. But the people there they understand one thing. They understand power. They understand winning and losing, and they're willing to say anything, willing to do anything. Putin is letting 1,000 people, Russians a week, being ground up in that war, and with no compunction. It means nothing to him whatsoever. It could be 10,000 a week. It wouldn't matter. The only thing he understands is winning and losing, no matter how much he cheats.
You know, you hear these stats about these tyrants that you just mentioned, and then you hear the phrase that they were calling President Trump Nazi or Hitler, or they called him all these names. And it's just the irony of it. I hope America pays attention. They've been calling the guy Nazi, jackbooted thugs, Hitler, etc. And the guy just struck a peace deal between Israel, brought about the Abraham Accords, ending war over there, protecting the Jews. But people don't seem to have a historic perspective of these slanderous things that they say, calling people these names in history that really make no sense in comparison.
Yes, I mean, you stay back, look at it from 30,000 feet. We're talking about a president of the United States that, no kidding, has ended 8 wars. Even the Democrats commended him on ending the war in Gaza, and it's a little rocky, but it looks like it's holding. We have like 34 Arab nations coming together to enforce it, putting pressure on Hamas to live up to its part of the bargain there. That is a remarkable achievement. A peace in Gaza, peace in the Middle East, 34 nations coming together to work together towards building hospitals, schools, working towards prosperity, peace and protecting their citizens. That's an amazing achievement. It's gotten, the Democrats did commend them, but then they go back to throwing mud balls on everything that he's done. My favorite part of that was when you had the monks there in Cambodia, the Buddhist monks. I think it was like 7,000 of them in the scarlet robes coming out and nominating Donald Trump for the Nobel Peace Prize. Wow, how good is that?
Yeah.
How good an optic is that? Ending the war between, in that case, Cambodia and Laos, Cambodia and Thailand. But 8 different wars in it, with a remarkable record for which he gets maybe 1/10 the credit that he deserves.
If you're listening to this later in the day on the podcast version, you can't see who the guest is on the screen because you're listening. Thousands of earballs, by the way, hear this show every day via podcast and or live stream. Thank you. But if you're listening, one of the thousands listening on the podcast today, it's Jared Knott, historian and author. The latest book is called Tiny Blunders, Big Disasters, Book 2, The Many Tiny Mistakes That Changed the World Forever. Jared, I have one more quick question for you. But first of all, it is Veterans Day. And a lot of folks don't know the background of our guest. You are a decorated combat infantry officer in Vietnam in the 1st Air Cavalry Division. So on behalf of myself and my listeners, thank you, sir, for your service. We appreciate it.
Thank you, man. I appreciate it very much. And I was a young platoon leader, and in combat, that was the most challenging period of my life. And I would pray every day that God would see us through. And one of the greatest blessings of my life is that me and my men all came back in one piece. I had nobody killed and nobody injured. Through the grace of God. That was, again, a very challenging part of my life, and I'm very thankful that God was with me.
Well, we're glad you served, and we're glad you came back in one piece as well, and all of your men as well. So thank you very much. There's another shift that I guess Donald Trump, I think the sheer force of will, the sheer force of nature, he seems to just have an effect that he can get things to move that haven't moved in a while. Kazakhstan is going to join the Abraham Accords. The U.S. has now confirmed this. Why does this matter? Most Americans go, Kazakhstan, I don't even know where that's at. I don't understand the importance. But there is actually some importance to this country joining the Abraham Accords.
Yes, we consider it an outlier type nation, a more resistant type nation. Even they are joining the Abraham Accords. So it's a broad reach from the middle to the fringes of people who are now part of the overall agreement. Great momentum is being added. And so the resistance to working with Israel, the resistance to working with the United States, it seems to be dissolving, and it's moving in the direction of bridges, schools, hospitals, doing what's best for your citizens in terms of peace and prosperity. It's a remarkable achievement, one more step in a long train of remarkable achievements. Donald Trump is able to understand what certain individuals are motivated by, what is it that turns them on, and he's able to go into that situation, find those buttons or find those priorities that are important to that particular individual in power, put pressure, or we could put incentives in place and get them to move in the right direction. The art of the deal, he is an absolute master at it. He's going to be remembered as one of perhaps the best president of the United States that we ever had, and already in 9 some odd months, remarkable lists of achievements.
TinyBlundersBigDisasters.com is the website we have on the screen. Does that sound right to you, sir? I think you might be familiar with that.
Yes, TinyBlundersBigDisasters.com. It's a very fun place to visit. It has a portrait gallery that has 27 personalities with a little bit of dirt on each one. I'm going to say that tongue in cheek. Has 2 free chapters, and has the 3 Instagram reels, that feature some of the best chapters, I think, most interesting chapters of the book. One of the teasers on one of them is, what outrageous character bought stolen horses from the Comanche Indians using counterfeit money? What could possibly go wrong? When the Comanche came back for revenge, it saw a chain of events that had a major impact on the history of the Southwest. This very colorful character was later portrayed by John Wayne in a John Ford movie with the help of Natalie Wood. That's a very interesting chapter about somebody forgetting to close the gate and a fortress collapse, and all kinds of calamities come out as a result of that tiny blunder.
A lot of Americans oftentimes go, well, the Roman Empire fell. Everybody's going to fall. We're doomed because this person wins office. Speaking of locking a gate, the end of the Roman Empire didn't necessarily directly go by a ballot box or some candidate. Somebody forgot to lock a gate there, too. Yes,
that's right. The fortress there at Constantinople, that was the last vestige of the Roman Empire. It had stood for over 1,000 years. It had stood past the 23 different major attacks, and it was always successful, magnificently a design fortress, had 3 different walls, 3 different ramparts, and had water on 2 sides, a moat on the other side, and it was very successful. Several different factors that caused it to fall. The Black Plague had wiped out most of the population. The cannons were now being used for the first time, and somebody forgot to lock a key gate on a fortress wall, and the enemy found that it was unlocked and pouring in. That was one of the major defeats. And there was Keon Peele must sent out a playful tweet. He shows a cartoon of a soldier in bed with the covers pulled up and his helmet on, little bubbles showing his thoughts, and it says, "Did I remember to lock that gate yesterday?"
I have an app that reminds me if I forgot to close the garage door behind me, and I don't think they had an app to tell them about the gate back in 1453. So there it is. It all falls down. It all fell apart. The final vestige of the Roman Empire fell apart because someone forgot to use the master lock. Oops, sorry about that. TinyBlundersBigDisasters.com. That is the website for your book. The book is available now everywhere fine books are sold. Of course, you have a prequel to this one as well. So anything by Jared Knott would be welcome reading in a collection. And they're all fun reads as well.
Thank you very much. Yes, we're now number 1 in 2 categories. Book 2 is, and it's very high on the overall list. It's up to 34 and rising. So, and it's reached as much as the number 1 position. I think it may get there again. So it's a beautiful acceptance of the book. I'm very appreciative to the readers who have been enjoying the book.
Tiny Blunders, Big Disasters. I'll call it History with a Hoot. It's a hoot to read it. History with a Hoot. You can use that anytime. I'm sure you'll want to. Not really. TinyBlundersBigDisasters.com. Jared Knott, historian, author. And again, remind you, Jared is a veteran of our U.S. military, and he served in Vietnam, and we appreciate his service to the country on this Veterans Day. Jared Knott, God bless. We'll talk to you very soon. I'm sure we'll have you back on the program. I forgot to ask the cleaning question, but we're going to run out of time. Anybody got a favorite cleaning thing? Is there anybody out there that's a fan of the Fabulosa? I don't think anybody should be if you are. And it seems like I'm glad to hear that a lot of you just say, yeah, you do the all natural stuff for the fumes and all that stuff, but occasionally you got to zap something with bleach. And I'm glad I'm not the only one, because I felt as if I had made a commitment to kind of more natural cleaning products, and then all of a sudden it got out of hand, and I'm like, I gotta have to every once in a while spray some bleach in the corner of this thing. Arloa says, I do like she liked Mrs. Myers, I believe, and then I think it said that she occasionally she'll go back and have to get the bleach out. That's her favorite. And then back when they had the franchise of the Cold Stone, I bought Fabulosa. I'm sorry, Arlo, that's a poor decision. I was actually at a little diner, a Greasy Spoon diner that's in the little enclave that I live. And I was there, and at the time they closed at like 2. They only did early morning breakfast, opened at 5, closed at 2. And I was there for, I don't know, lunch or something. I was just there. And anyway, they started kind of cleaning up around me, this little Greasy Spoon. And the lady comes over and she's mopping, and I'm like, what is that? Oh my, I pushed my food away. And I said, I can't do. What are you doing there? We're starting to clean up the other section. I said, you don't clean that other section up till I leave, because that's Fabulosa. That stinks. She goes, oh, we think it smells really nice. I said, it smells horrible, and it's really washing out the taste of my Greasy Spoon breakfast. You should be. I let them know that I didn't like the Fabulosa. I still tipped. I still did all the nice things, but don't do it. Fabulosa is not good. Obnoxious Scott about the Jared Knott book says both books are required. He's got a couple of them. He's out there, and they really are kind of interesting. It's history with a hoot. It's just little bitty things that happened, and it unleashed big results, sometimes good, sometimes bad. So get the books by Jared Knott. Roger jumps in, says Kazakhstan has been a Soviet satellite nation. Russia still exerts significant influence. So signing the Abraham Accord is significant if you think of Middle East relations and the Syria-Tehran relationship. So Roger sounding off on the news that Jared Knott's talking about that Kazakhstan has decided to jump in on the Abraham Accords. Jimmy, I think you missed it. I threw the Fabulosa away and never bought it again. Arlo, that's why you're a good American. That is why you are a good American. When I first got onto what this nasty Fabulosa stuff was, it showed up with a housekeeper, and she was fired for using it twice. I'm sorry, it's awful. I go down the detergent aisle, and somebody said, well, get a different scent of Fabulosa. I said, oh, God, there's more than one. And somebody had messaged me, one of my friends from the motherland of Texas that said, try this scent. And so I'm on the cleaning aisle of the local grocery store, opening up the Fabulosa, trying not to, the gag reflex is kicking in. I feel as if it caused brain damage. If some of you think I may be off in the head, it could be that I sniffed Fabulosa one time. It's awful. And then I'm like, this is awful. None of these fragrances of Fabulosa are any good. It's not, they don't smell like America. They're just awful. And then I start paying attention to that little logo of Fabulosa, and there's actually laundry detergents that say they blend in the Fabulosa smell. And I'm so sorry that if you're going to put that on your laundry, please, you don't want friends. If you're going to put that, my dad used to say when somebody got in the car, my mom or my sister get in the car, my dad was born and raised in Deep East, Texas, so he had a good accent. And when he said French, if he wanted French dressing, he called it French. Give me the French dressing. He did it like that, just like that. That's how my father did it. God rest his soul. I say French. Somebody get in the car smelling like heavy perfume, or maybe let's say Fabulosa. He would say the phrase, usually on the way to church, when somebody's spraying a little bit of perfume to go to church in the family car, my dad would look around and look at the women in the car, my mom and my sister, and it said, somebody smells like a French whore. That's what my dad would say. And I'm not even sure a brothel in France should be cleaned with Fabulosa. I mean, I have too much respect for the brothel at this point. You get it? Fabulosa, no mas. It is. It's awful stuff. You shouldn't do it. Throw it away. Get rid of it. Don't buy it again. And thank you for letting me vent. All right, your favorite cleaning supply. I don't think we have a consensus on anything. On any of the cleaning supplies, I don't think we garnered any kind of consensus, except everybody who's gone all natural knows that occasionally you got to get the spray bleach stuff from the Clorox or the Lysol or your own, and you're going to have to bleach some things anyway, especially in those dark corners of the shower, because that natural stuff, to my knowledge, isn't effective on that. And I just learned that this past week. I switched to all natural, and I was looking, going, yeah. So, yeah, housekeeper is going to have to start blending in a little bit of bleach here and there, even if on occasion you got to do that. So, Pine Sol used to be the cleaning of choice. We didn't ever do the Mr. Clean, and there was only one scent of Pine Sol. And if I smell Pine Sol now, I've told this story before. When I went to summer camp as a kid, I'd go for a week or so at a time to summer camp as a elementary age kid, a teenage boy, and I'd go to summer camp, and we had to clean our dormitory every day. And if you get first in the lunch line, if you had the cleanest dorm, so we always did our best. But we were just, let's say, 10, 12, 13, 14-year-old boys. We didn't have to clean very well, and so they always kept it stocked with a Pine Sol, the original scent. And rather than just a mop bucket and a small splash and you mop the floor, we'd just throw the Pine Sol out, like a quarter of the bottle out, and start mopping. Then that floor was sticky and nasty the entire time because of the soap. But in the entire dorm smelled like 14-year-old boys' socks in a pine forest. It was awful. It was a horrible thing. So I can't really use the Pine Sol. If I smell that now, I have an immediate flashback to my childhood and after being at home as a kid, and then of course going to summer camp. And now they have, I think, a lemon fragrance, but it was just pine. It was a pine scent, and it was strong. So it was no, I'd take the Pine Sol, the original Pine Sol, over Fabulosa any day. I'm telling you, I as I said, my father would say that smells like a French whore. So yeah, that's how we talked sometimes. He'd say French dressing. Yeah, he liked the French dressing. Smell like a French whore. Smells like a bad. Yeah, don't even use that in the Fabulosa. Don't do it. All right, ladies and gentlemen, a pleasure to have all of you here. I've talked about Sherry Cree. Give her some support. Give her some business, my friends. Reach out to her, Sherry Cree, homeswithsherry.com, homeswithsherry.com, homeswithsherry.com. A little update. Jay Ratliff is not going to be back with us this Thursday. Keep him in your prayers. He's had a little health issue, but he sent me a message last night that he is recovering, and he will hopefully be back on in the next few weeks. But this week, Thursday and Friday, not only will Jay Ratliff not be on, but I will not be on, and producer Chad will not be on. In other words, this Thursday and Friday programming note, there will be no Lakey Unleashed live cast. So make sure you follow us on the podcast versions so you can go back and listen to us if you get really lonely in the morning. But this Thursday and Friday, there's going to be no show. Thursday, taken off, and then producer Chad's traveling back from Mexico, and I'm heading on a trip as well on Friday. So no show Thursday or Friday. We will resume, good Lord willing, on the following Monday. So one more show this week, and that is tomorrow, and make sure that you are part of that. and it got some big information on Rivers Promise and our charity fundraising drive that will happen on that show as well. Ladies and gentlemen, I hold in my hand, you ready for this? I hold in my hand the globe, our cheap little prop that we spin it around. We hit all the continents. We steal memes from everywhere. And then when we finally bottom out, you'll hear the gong coming in from China. And that's the Chinese saying, hey, we ain't got no more memes for you to steal. You've stolen all the intellectual property you're going to get today. And that's what the gong will come in. And that will conclude our show. Round and round the globe we go, where we steal the memes from. No one knows. Congress prepares to pivot from doing nothing because of the shutdown to doing nothing because they're Congress. This is true. This is true. I didn't even notice that Congress wasn't there. I just feel bad for air traffic controllers and people that were not getting paid. But yeah, Congress prepares to pivot from doing nothing because of the shutdown to doing nothing because they're Congress. That's all they do. Round and around the globe we go, where we steal the memes from. No one knows. There's an AOC meme. That's the face you make when the farmer walks into the barn with your feed bag. Ain't that pretty? How'd you like to wake up next to that every morning? Right around the globe we go, where we steal the memes from. No, I don't even want to pour me a beer. Moms will force their kids to take a picture like, sit the F down and smile. And then post a caption like, oh, my everything. Sorry for those of you that see the F word there. Producer Chad. Drinking at the beach this morning is in Cabo. Yeah, sit the F down. I say F. See, I'm polite like that. You ever do that? You ever see those family photos? The old Olin Mills, Sears Portrait Studio. Everybody's looking so happy. And you know there was a fight that broke out there. You know that your little sister, mine, was told, you can't wear that. You look like a skank. And my dad's like, why the hell are we here? We're missing a football game. There was a fight that broke out, but everybody smiles for the camera, and suddenly the Olin Mills captures that moment, and you're, oh, what a happy family. No, they're just as dysfunctional as your family is, and there's a fight that broke out there. Round around the globe we go, where we steal the memes from. No one knows. Kids keep talking about 6-7. Wait till y'all learn about 9 to 5. Yeah, if you haven't followed the 6-7 thing, it's a weird thing. Don't worry about it. Don't bother. It's a trend, like fidget wheels, fidget spinners. It'll go away. 9 to 5, though. We'll learn about that one. Round around the globe we go, where we steal the memes from. No one knows. DoorDash is an IQ test. Do you want a cheeseburger for $27, or will you go pick it up for $6? DoorDash is a lazy thing. It's a lot of laziness in the DoorDash. Yeah. $27 for the burger, pick it up for $6. You figure it out. 6-7. Round around the globe. Thank you, Delilah. Round around the globe we go, where we steal the memes from. No one knows. This could be almost from China. We're getting close. If you trip and fall, a friend will ask you if you're okay. A good friend will help you up. A best friend will laugh and say, walk much, dumbass. That's true. If you trip and fall, a friend will say, are you okay? It's your best friend is going to go, you're an idiot. Mean, isn't it? Round around the globe we go, where we steal the memes from. No one knows. Oh, it is Veterans Day. Thank you all for all of those who have served your country and some of your active duty. We know listening on the podcast later in the day. So thank you for God bless you for your service. And we're glad you came back alive. We're glad you're still here. And we're glad we're here to celebrate it with you. So all of you who have served, whether it's the Coast Guard, the Space Force, the Army, Navy, Air Force, Marines, all of you, God bless you. Thank you for serving your country. And don't forget, if you're a military or veteran or active duty, Sherry Cree takes a discount off her commission automatically for you, just to make the joy of home ownership more accessible to you. See, before we get round around the globe we go, where we steal the memes from. No one. Oh. All the intellectual property we can steal today. And if anybody knows about stealing intellectual property, it's China. Don't forget our charity, riverspromise.org, riverspromise.org. Love to have you check us out there and donate. Tomorrow, I'll give some big information about my upcoming trip and how you can participate in that. We'll start that tomorrow. Also, if you're not on our mailing list for Rivers Promise, go to riverspromise.org. You'll see a place, I think down at the bottom of the front page, that you can sign up for our newsletter. And I'm going to be sending an email out a little bit later today, you'll have an inbox from me. So riverspromise.org. Love to have you subscribe to the newsletter, and we'll talk about some more of the work that we're going to do in Africa when I'm there in just tomorrow, and I'm going to be there in a couple of weeks. Ladies and gentlemen, I mean this from the bottom of my heart. It has been a pleasure. Producer Chad really is, if you think I'm joking, he really is on a beach in Mexico. Doing the show, he's missing out on beach time. So we got to go. Ladies and gentlemen, I mean this. Scott says another great show. Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. And for your service, Scott, in the Air Force. I appreciate it. Prayers to Jay. Linda's praying for Jay. He's doing better. Ladies and gentlemen, God bless you. God bless America. I am Jimmy Lakey. Peace. I'm out of here.